Has the price of homes in Florida made your retirement dream seem impossible? It's discouraging when you discover that you're priced out of the Florida retirement lifestyle you dreamed of throughout your working years. But there may be a solution. Manufactured housing produces homes that cost a fraction of their site built counterparts, and there are communities that offer these homes along with that resort vacation lifestyle you've been dreaming of. You can also find these homes on private land and acreage, offering the opportunities for every kind of lifestyle. Let me share what I have learned in over a decade of leadership roles at the community, state, and national levels of the manufactured housing industry. Don't settle for retirement boredom and shoveling snow when palm trees, new friends, and year round activities are calling you at a price you can afford. If you're ready for more, let's dig in. Can a manufactured home community in Florida make your retirement dream come true? I'm Russ Watson. Join me as I share over a decade of experience helping folks who are living in or looking at this active lifestyle. In today's podcast, I'll recount my journey to a Florida manufactured home community and talk about why this might be an affordable solution to your Florida retirement dream. There are some real bargains offering either a low startup capital or a low monthly cost, and I'll discuss those as well. Back in the early to mid 60s, I was a little sprout, and I used to visit my grandparents' home in the winter months and hear tales of the Florida vacations my two uncles and my grandparents took every year. The men were into dog racing and auto racing. Daytona was a favorite stop, with both right next door. Grandma, I think she just wanted warmer weather and vacation living. She took the train, the others flew. I don't think my grandmother trusted those newfangled airplane things. I followed suit in my adult years. My wife and I made an annual pilgrimage to Daytona for the 500 for a couple decades. We dreamed about someday owning our own home in Florida. Traditional Florida retirement communities can be broken down into several types. There are the planned neighborhoods, maybe even call them planned cities. Palm Coast, for example, Port St. Lucie, and of course the famous one, the villages. If you like the hustle and bustle of almost urban living in a sprawling neighborhood, these might be for you. There are HOA communities. The most common is 70 to maybe 500 homes or more. And this is where a builder buys a tract of land, builds a clubhouse, puts in a swimming pool, and sells homes. There's hundreds and hundreds of these all around Florida. And they used to be what most people dreamed about, I think. But they've gotten pretty expensive. Then there's the country clubs, usually based around a golf course. This is a very high-end HOA community, and again, what a lot of people dream of, but way out of my price range. The other common solution was a condominium. High rises on the beach appealed to everyone. You could look out and see the ocean, walk down and jump on a beach. These are nice, but they're expensive. They appeal to city dwellers who are used to apartments, co-ops, and condos. Cheaper yet was just a home in a neighborhood with no amenities or HOAs, just a simple concrete block house. And even cheaper than that was the Florida mobile home or RV park. Historically, Florida mobile home parks really started way back when automobiles first became popular. A group called the Tin Can Tourists started it all in the 20s and 30s. After World War II, trailer parks became common, and people would leave their trailers year-round in the same spot, sometimes living in them, sometimes snowbirding. By the 60s, these homes had grown larger and were made semi-permanent with the addition of decks, carports, and other outbuildings. Planned communities of single-wide mobile homes grew up across Florida as developers found they could offer a very inexpensive way to have a Florida vacation home. Typically, these had a clubhouse and a small swimming pool. In the 80s, double wides became the norm, and between 1980 and roughly 2000, most parks that exist in Florida today were built. Let's talk about today's Florida manufactured home communities. Country clubs with golf courses are popular, and golf remains popular even though these communities have an additional fee for course membership. They are still a bargain compared to country clubs with conventional homes. Often these communities also have a very large number of social activities, making them attractive even if you're not a fan of golf. Restaurants and 19th hole pubs round out the picture and make it a complete community. There are also quite a few large communities with single clubhouses. If golf isn't your thing, then you may have a greater choice of area if you include the large communities that do not have their own golf course, but operate out of a single clubhouse. It may seem counterintuitive to want to take a golf cart across a large community to get to the clubhouse, but centralizing all the activities in one place assures you of larger participation in any given activity. You may still see sections within the community that self-identify with neighborhood names, block parties, and local events. Large communities with multiple clubhouses, which includes the largest single manufactured home community, Colony Cove, are set up such that you have the benefit of using any of the clubhouses within the community, and each often have some unique amenities. This setup results in villages within the community, which might seem friendlier and more localized to your home. The downside may be that these villages actually compete for the capital expenditure and maintenance budget of the overall park. Medium-sized communities are the bread and butter of the industry. They are the most common, and many would say the Goldilocks size. Just large enough so that a lot of residents are there supporting a lot of activities, and yet small enough that you can get to know most folks that you're living with. Almost all have HOAs representing the residents. Smaller sized communities can appeal for several reasons. First, they may be somewhat less expensive, and they have fewer amenities. But they also have less income, meaning capital improvements or major repairs are not as easily afforded by the owner. They may or may not have an HOA, and without one, there's no resident representation. On the plus side, they are very intimate, and this is where you'll likely see the greatest amount of support from your neighbors. I used to think RV communities were really not within this topic, but that has changed. As I surveyed more communities around the state, I kept discovering RV communities in which there were a large number of mobile homes. Yet, they were not listed or licensed at DBPR as mobile home parks. This called into question the rights of these mobile homeowners to any of the benefits under the statutes for mobile home parks. Further investigation determined that the park owners are considering these homes to be what's called park models. In my recent trip filming in Zephyr Hills, I took a closer look at a number of these communities, and I realized that with considerably lower lot rents, they might just be a good solution for someone snowbirding or looking for something with a low monthly cost and a lower upfront capital requirement than a resident-owned community would have. The downside is you're giving up all the protections found under the Florida Mobile Home Act. Let's do some sample cost comparisons. A country club with conventional homes, membership fees, versus a land lease community and lot rent. You know, Florida is covered with country club communities, ranging from those with a small 9-hole course in a country setting to the most lavish one can imagine. Heck, the past president owns one. Homes typically range from $500,000 to as much as you want to spend. HOA fees can be found as low as $300 to $400 a month, but the upfront capital is what holds most people back. Needless to say, if you can afford one of these, it's unlikely you're going to be looking at manufactured homes. Yet, if it's really full-time golf at your doorstep that you're looking for, or just that country club atmosphere and the 19th hole to enjoy, there are many opportunities at highly affordable prices compared to conventional country clubs. A couple of examples come to mind. Four Lakes Country Club in Winter Haven was chosen by a member of our program who reported after 5 months of living there that they were absolutely thrilled. The location kept their insurance costs to half of what I pay near the coast, and their monthly lot rent was lower than many of the larger communities I've looked at that have half the amenities or less. Another great example is Barefoot Bay. You can find a video on this community of 8,000 homes on my YouTube channel. There is a fully staffed pro shop, golf course, 19th hole restaurant available, along with amenities easily as nice as many very expensive country clubs. Yet you can buy a home in there at a cost similar to any resident-owned community and a monthly cost of a third of what you likely pay in a land lease park. How about HOA communities versus resident-owned manufactured housing subdivisions? The big difference between a traditional HOA site-built home community and a mobile home HOA subdivision is again the initial cost of the home. I looked at several communities currently under construction, and home prices for conventional homes were listed starting at the mid 350s. A couple were starting at mid 500s or more. I think those are typical. I have friends that live in similar older communities, and used home prices are in that range too. In a resident-owned community, at least the ones I've been pricing, homes run from roughly $100,000 to as much as $250,000 on the upper side. Now, one difference to consider is that homes in resident-owned communities, manufactured homes, are typically much older, as these communities have been around a while. They're also typically smaller. Manufactured homes in resident-owned communities run 900 to 1,700 square feet versus HOA conventional built homes that are more likely to be 1,400 to 2,500 square feet or more. Another interesting option that sort of sits in the middle of all this is the concrete homes being built by Spanish Lakes community within their manufactured home parks. Let's talk a little about cost considerations. First and foremost is capital up front. As we've seen, one of the major attractions to manufactured homes and manufactured home communities is the lower startup cost. This is attractive to snowbirds who plan to keep their current home and therefore don't have the investment equity to buy a big home in Florida. This is also attractive to those selling their home who, rather than using all the equity and perhaps even having to take out a mortgage, buy a lower priced manufactured home. That allows them to bank part of the equity they receive from the sale of their home up north to generate additional income, or use it to pay things like the grandkids' college education, or maybe to pursue lifelong dreams of travel or adventure. Monthly expenses are the next item in the list. By far the most expensive manufactured home communities on a monthly basis are those offered with leased land. In this arrangement, you own the home, but the park owner owns the land underneath it, as well as the common property. You pay a monthly lot rent, which covers a lease on the land under your home and offers access to amenities. There can be additional costs as well. That said, these are still the most popular type of community, and in a well-run one, that monthly fee entitles you to worry-free resort living in a beautifully maintained and safe community full of like-minded friends. More on this when I talk about the bargains that can be found out there. Let's also talk about appreciation and depreciation. It's commonly believed that manufactured homes depreciate very quickly and make very poor investments. In the current environment, most people I know are seeing 30 to as much as several 100% gain on what they paid for their home in these communities. The same is true on private land, as lower priced homes are not being built and are very difficult to find. There is a type of depreciation that occurs in land lease parks that offer a higher lot rent for new buyers, dramatically higher than that being paid by residents currently living in the park. This results in considerably lowering the price you can get for your home. Even if you can afford the higher lot rent, I would recommend avoiding such situations, as sometime in the future, you're likely to wind up on the same side as the current seller, having to take that difference out of the sales price. The next consideration I want to talk about is the potential for escalating monthly expenses. I find it curious that folks get all up in arms at 2, 3, and 4% increases in lot rent, or even 6% increases in lot rent under high inflation conditions. At the same time, they seem to blindly accept 10 to 20% increases in transportation costs, groceries, insurance, and many other necessities. It just doesn't make sense to me. If you're looking at land lease communities, you need to budget an annual increase, just as you would budget an annual increase for any other commodity that you buy regularly. In resident-owned communities, increases are much less frequent, but you do run the risk of an assessment if the community runs into a problem such as a utility failure or hurricane damage. So who can afford these communities? I like to think of your basic choice when buying into a manufactured home community as being somewhat similar to that of buying a new car. Some folks like to own their car and are willing to put more down on the loan and pay higher monthly fees with an objective of one day actually owning the car. Other folks look at leasing as an opportunity to own the same car, the same amount of luxury, at a much lower initial cost and with lower monthly payments. The downside is they'll never own the car. They simply traded it in on another lease car when the lease is up. So if you are in the crowd that wants to own your land, or at least have a controlling say in a co-op that owns the land, then you'll need more capital up front. How much capital? This greatly depends upon where you are buying and what the community offers. But if pressed for a range, I would say you could buy a home for as little as $70,000, with $120,000 to $280,000 being a typical price in 2024. If your situation or needs run more toward leasing the land, you can find some real bargains, which we'll cover in a moment. The downside is you'll need enough income to afford the higher monthly payments and need to budget for increases annually in that amount. The range of homes available in these communities is much wider, going from under $30,000 for an older home that might need a little modernizing to a typical price range of $60,000 to $120,000. New homes run from around $80,000 for a small single wide to as much as $200,000 or more for a large luxury home. Lot rents in resort communities are currently running between $650 to about $1,200 a month, with a few lower and a few higher. Using a commonly accepted formula that says housing should be no more than 30% of your monthly income would arrive at a necessary monthly income of between $2,200 and $4,000 a month. Can you see now how the affordability of a manufactured home and the lifestyle found in a manufactured home community can be combined to fulfill your retirement dream at a price that will meet your needs? This opens up many possibilities, but it also comes with many choices to make. So to get you started, I want to offer you our resource guide and statewide community lists, along with free membership in our Inner Circle. Inner Circle members are welcomed with a Get Started video that lays out your options. Knowing all the options will help you target the right opportunity to fulfill your dream while avoiding choices that will not meet your needs. Just enter go-to-innercircle.com and sign up now. This will take you to the sign up page for the Inner Circle, hosted by Florida Manufactured Home Living. It's pretty easy to remember. Go-to-innercircle.com. Now, let's go bargain hunting. To some, a bargain is the absolute lowest priced home they can find. 4-Star Homes, who you can find through our Inner Circle resource guide, offers a search feature listing their 10 lowest priced homes. I took a look while putting together this podcast. On that day, there were 6 homes priced $10,000 and under. Most were small single wides, but one was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, double wide at over 1,300 square feet. It was in a 55-plus resort community located in a highly desirable area, Ormond Beach. At $10,000 though, there's got to be something wrong, you're saying. Well, this is the first type of bargain available in these communities. This particular home, listed at virtually a walkaway price, is in a community where lot rents have gone up dramatically, and I'm guessing the owner of the home simply wants out. The listed lot rent was $1,747 a month. So if you want a home with virtually no capital expenditure and are willing to pay very high lot rents, then this can be a real bargain. Often these homes are in very good condition and in very good areas, with lot rents still below what an apartment would rent for in the surrounding area. It is interesting to note there were 2 other homes in this community listed as for rent. In this particular case, renting the home might be a better bargain. So who might be interested in one of these deals? Well, an example that comes to mind is someone who is recently divorced, and while they retained a large income from their savings and their business, they lost their home in the divorce, leaving them with very little capital. I'm sure there are others, the essence of it being you have to have sufficient income, but you lack the capital for a better opportunity. The most common kind of bargain is a fixer-upper, and manufactured housing is no different. You can find these in almost any older community, but they typically go very quickly, especially if the lot rent is reasonable for the area. That said, if you're a handyman or handywoman, this can be a great bargain. I did a quick listing search with this in mind and found a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath in Orange City for just under $25,000, with a monthly lot rent of only $617. The next bargain we run into are homes which have been remodeled and updated recently, and they often sell at the same price as homes in much worse shape. Life happens, sometimes circumstances change, and the home you plan to hold on to for many years and put a lot of money into suddenly needs to be sold. I did a feature video on my YouTube channel on one of these homes, priced at $48,000. I'll put a link in the show notes. The last bargain isn't a specific bargain, but more a tactic you should use to see if there are bargains available. Quite often, folks moving to parks in Florida move because a relative or a friend already lives in the park. They do no research other than to look at a list of available homes in the park and decide from that which one's the best option for them. And usually, this is in a very short time frame with very few homes to look at. To find bargains takes a little time and a little effort, so if this opportunity is tugging at you, expand your search a little to parks nearby. At least call a few sales agents and talk to them about what's been on the market and what might be coming up. Look at nearby lot rents or resident-owned community opportunities and see if you can't find a real bargain rather than just the first available home. The best bargains are found through a thorough review of your needs and a methodical search method to narrow down your choices. That is what we offer in our MH Buyer program, and if this interests you, sign up for the Inner Circle and get details on our free workshop. That's it for this episode. In our next episode, we will take a deeper dive into the value found in older homes and downsizing. Until then, stay safe and be blessed.